Wembley, 95 minutes on the clock, and Ollie McBurney's just put it in the back of the net. And just like that, Middlesbrough's season was over. But this wasn't just a season of one afternoon under the arch. It was a season of change, chaos, and almosts. Rob Edwards came in, Kim Hellberg arrived, key players came in, and some left, and Boro flirted with the automatic places for over 200 days. We survived playoff controversy and found ourselves one game away from the Premier League. 80 points, 72 goals, and 5th place, no promotion. So was this progress, pain, or a massive missed opportunity? That was Boro's season, and this is the Boro Breakdown review show, and I'm with the full squad. And guys, there is only one place to start, and that's the playoff final. And Matt, it's been over a week since that playoff final defeat to Hull. How have you felt within that time?
I've gone through a wider range of emotions since. Afterwards, I was disappointed. Naturally, of course, you're going to be when your team's one game away from the ultimate goal, Premier League. I remember bumping straight into Dana on the concourse afterwards, and we were both just, I don't know what the feeling was, disappointed, but
flat.
I don't think, flat is a good way of describing it. I don't think it was as heartbreaking as it would have been had we gotten there on merit. I don't think I felt as utterly devastated as I have done in previous playoff campaigns, Coventry 22-23 and the playoff final back in 2015. But that was probably because we shouldn't have been there and the whole Spygate, everything. I'd rather my team have been there on merit. So although I was disappointed straight after the final whistle, I don't think it felt as much of a devastating blow as it would have done. However, as the days went by, and I think I started to sort of digest the whole situation, I looked back at Boro's performance, I was bitterly disappointed with how we played in the final. I thought the fact we didn't have a shot on target was quite pathetic. And when I looked at the context of Hull City, and credit to them, congratulations to them, by the way, they were the only team who won the semi-final and the final, so it feels right on a footballing level in a way that they were the ones who got to the Premier League. They were the team who struck it on the last day due to us drawing at Wrexham, a team who've been under transfer embargo, couldn't put any money towards any players barely, and they're the ones who beat us in the playoff final. And I think they're the first 6th place team to do so since 2010. So when I sort of look back at the context of the opportunities we've thrown away and then the opportunity we had in the final, whether we should have been there, shouldn't have been there, I gradually felt worse about it, and I felt more and more irritated by it as the days went by. And then obviously you start to absorb the whole season, the whole picture, and it sort of felt even worse. So yeah, I've come down from that now, and I'm over it now. But over the last week, I've gone through quite a large array of emotions, and it's an opportunity that I think we've absolutely missed in that final, and it was just more of a shame that we didn't perform whatsoever.
Yeah, I do want to chat about Boro's performance, actually. Tom, I mean, it probably wasn't the worst part of our day. I mean, the air conditioning breaking on the way down.
That was definitely the worst.
Thought we were going to die at one point. But what did you make of Boro's performance?
I mean, ultimately, I was disappointed by it. I kind of expected it, though. Like, it was weird because there were so many things about the day that were the exact opposite of what happened 10 years ago. And going into the game, I was like, you know what? Like, everything's changed this time. It's going to be different. And then, for that 90 minutes, it's a similar story to what we've seen a lot of games this season. We'll dominate possession. Other team doesn't really look likely to do anything, and then there's one mistake late in the game that ends up costing us, and ultimately it has to go down as a disappointing performance. It just, we never, for all of the ball that we had, we never looked likely to score. And I think that's the most annoying part of this, considering we were in such a good position for the majority of that game in terms of, like I said, dominating possession. If we played the way that we know we can play with the possession, we could have done it. But it just it seemed like such a tired display, and just kind of like the season went out with a bit of a whimper compared to what we've done throughout the year.
D, what do you think?
Yeah, the game was basically what I expected it to be, a fine margin game that Boro didn't come out on the other end of in the way that we wanted them to. And it's been a problem for Boro towards the back end of the season. Like, how many times have I come on this podcast and said, where's our big moment players? Where's our big moment? Again, it evaded us. I mean, the day in general, firstly, congratulations to Hull. I mean, their fans must have experienced a transcendental moment when Ollie McBurney bundled the ball home. They must have been beyond the clouds. But on that, actually, considering we conceded in the 95th minute, and that took Hull up at our expense, and that was Boro's season done. Right at the end, that should have been a punch to the gut, but my gut wasn't punched at all. I kind of just was like, yeah, okay. And I think I just accepted it. A little bit what Matt said of like, we shouldn't really have been there. And we wouldn't have been there if our club photographer didn't catch William Salt's spine on our training session. So there's that little wrinkle in it as well. But we weren't good enough in the game. We didn't do enough. There was a chance from Strelic in the first half where he did well actually to get a shot on goal, but the shot itself just dragged it wide. And there was a moment in the second half where Son Chanson, I think it was a cross? It just bundled across the face of goal, and I was thinking that's our Jelle Vossen what if moment. And yeah, they are fine margin games. It's high stakes stuff, and if you don't have big moment players, you probably won't win the game. And Hull have big moment players. But what I'll say as well, like Dad said to me, I think the day before the game, he was like, you'll have been at Wembley twice and you're not even 30 yet. And I thought, you know what? Yeah, that's something to take from it, I think. Seeing Red just dominating the capital, Trafalgar Square, the day before, the scenes there, just taking a moment to look around Wembley and seeing half of the stadium Boro. I mean, our little town represented. People talk about day trippers, but I really don't feel like that's the time to talk about day trippers, because just looking at it, I was so proud to just be there and support Boro. And credit to the people behind the scenes as well that really pulled together in such a short space of time to get Teesside to Wembley. I mean, Boro fans scrambling for travel. They snapped up the tickets in just shy of 48 hours. Like, that's a mega effort. So yeah, the people behind the scenes, the ticketing people, the market people, social media, really good. Credit to the club. Do have to say, whoever threw a brick or whatever it was, I don't even know if it's a brick, threw something at the Hull coach, you're a Doyle. You're an absolute Doyle. But other than that, just really proud to have been there. And it's such a shame, isn't it, that we didn't get what we wanted at the end of the game, because it would have been nice. But we support Boro, and we never win at Wembley. But I will say as well what Matt said. I felt worse as well, supporting Boro and watching us flop in the playoffs. Like that Coventry game, I remember just sitting there outside of the stadium and watching the players. Did I say I was sitting there? I wasn't sitting outside the stadium. I just remember being there outside of the stadium and watching all of the players just leave, knowing that I wouldn't see them again. Some really good cult heroes, basically, from that season, and knowing that side will be picked apart in the summer. So that was, a punch to the gut. 2015, the game was done in 15 minutes. I had 75 minutes to basically hit the acceptance part of grief, and I never did. And I walked out of that stadium so heartbroken. Walked out the stadium last Saturday and was just like, it's kind of, to quote Tony Mowbray, it is what it is. We weren't good enough. I can just accept that. So yeah, no tears from me. It was just a case of happy to be there and just accepting that we weren't good enough to win.
Yeah, I think from my side as well, to probably round off the thoughts and feelings, I was the same as you guys. Really, I just did this thing after I've done all season. I just laughed when they scored. I was like this is just so typical Boro to do it again. I just smirked, looked to the side, and just went, well, this is Boro all over again. And they're a team that brings you up to knock you down, and it is what it is. I remember and I was sat next to Tom on the way home. The aircon was working on the way home, so we were actually all right, but it was still melting. And I just watched the goal back about 10 to 15 times. I'm just sat there, just
more
like,
than that.
it was even more. It was about 20 times, wasn't it? I was like watching it, and I'm looking at it from all angles, and I'm just like, oh man, this is so frustrating. because I know there's a lot of frustrations about the goal that we conceded, and I've decided to break it down slightly because I know people are going to be looking at Solbrin, and I think it is worth mentioning around it as well. Because when Hull do get the ball, there's actually they actually do some really good stuff prior to the ball from Jay to Ollie McBurney, because they win multiple battles. Melander and Gelhardt wins twice. They recycle the play and they play it through to Ollie McBurney because he's looking for it. He just pushes away from Ayling slightly just to create a little bit of space, opens his body up, and then they switch the play over to Louis Coyle on that left-hand side. And Coyle drives the ball forward, and then he plays it through to the wing on the left-hand side. And I mean, for Callum Britton, he's had 95 minutes and a winger who's just came on, and he's running at him. And I think Callum Britton does the right thing. He shows him down the line, try to get him away from goal. The ball comes in, and there's some really good movement from Ollie McBurney, actually, because he does this thing where what good strikers do is you step forward, the defender comes with you, and you move the right direction, get him on flat on the feet. Dale Fry is flat at this point, and then he gives himself a yard by going back onto his left foot, and he's created that space. So when the ball does come out to him, he's in the right place at the right time, anticipates it, and does what all good goal scorers do. Really good movement, anticipation, and puts the ball in the back of it. And there is delirium in the Hull end. But I know a lot of fans are thinking, what the hell has Solbrin done there? And there is actually a very, very minor detail in this, which enables him to parry it in a way that he does. And I think looking back on it, I don't think it's as simple as, he should save it. I think actually the dive itself is actually quite strong. He gets across, gets a hand to it, and shows relatively good reactions for what he does. But the issue is it's all before the actual save itself. So when the ball does come over, and this cross, right, it's not moving away from Bryn. It's a very, very straight ball from the winger. And when the ball comes over, Bryn is just, he's set on his feet. He moves, his right foot shifts to one side, so you're putting your weight just to cover off the near post. And I actually think that's the right thing to do. It's understandable. But he just edges a little bit too far on his right foot. So when the ball does come over, you just see a very minor detail where his right foot just shifts away and he just moves an inch. It's just an over adjustment. So when the ball does come across, he dives and he can't move his feet. So then therefore he's stretching. And then from that, he can only parry it just a little bit and it goes in front of Ollie McBurney itself. So I don't think it's necessarily a howler. But what I would say with Solbrin, he has a tendency to over-adjust his feet when a shot comes across. And by doing so, his body doesn't react as quick as what it should do, or he can't get across as much, which is why you see soft hands Bryn, because his power is just not where it should be. His body's not adjusting to where it should be. It's not terrible goalkeeping. I just think that his footwork needs a bit of improvement next year. And I think with Solbrin, right, his footwork probably needs to be addressed in the summer. If I was a big development point, I'd be looking at that and being going, right, if I want to become a good championship goalkeeper next year, that is what I need to work on. Because in League One and League Two, yes, they are lower leagues, and yes, he was in a team of the season, and it's fantastic. But in those lower leagues, and if you are playing at a higher level, you can predict where a shot's going to be or where someone's going to play. I mean, if to relate back to how if you play 7-5s or 11-a-side, either on a Saturday or Sunday or midweek, if you're a level above someone else, you can pretty much read where someone is going to take a touch, move, pass the ball. You can read it. Similar in footballs, right? The levels are just a little bit higher. And for goalkeeping, they can tend to predict where a shot's going to be based on the planting foot and where someone's body language or body shape is going to be. And as you move up, the more it gets disguised. And that's where really good footwork will be able to bail you out. But I think with Solbrin, I just don't think he has that footwork level yet. But going back to that goal, it is a very, very, very minor detail where his foot just shifts to that right-hand side. And that's where his weight is. And then from that, he has to pretty much stop, reload, and then dive at the same time. And it's just very minor seconds, and he's just too planted, and therefore he can't dive across to save the shot, unfortunately, as good as he should have. But at the end of the day, Hull score, and it's a minor detail which proves out to be massive. But for Solbrin, that is one bit of development that I think he just needs to work on even more. But we've spoke about his footwork for so long on this podcast, and I think it should be hopefully be addressed in the summer. But if I was him, I'd be going to my coach and saying, how do I get better? And I'd be showing clips and clips and clips of goals that he's conceded this year and how his footwork has impacted where he should be. But there is goals if you want to look back at that. There's probably the Josh Coburn goals against Millwall. There's Ipswich, just to probably name a couple. But there is multiple goals where if you rewatch it, he just over-adjusts his standing foot every time and goes to a little bit further to the right or to the left. And that's the reason why he doesn't get down as quick, in my professional, unlicensed opinion. But should we move on? Should we forget that game even existed and look back at a wider lens of the season review? Because if we rewind all the way back to August, Tom, Middlesbrough didn't win a game in pre-season under Rob Edwards, and then went on to a record-breaking start. After we did that, Tom, minus the Doncaster game, did you believe that it could be the year?
You know what? Yeah, because and I'll always remember, I think it was a chat we were having with Matt Crooks when he was on the podcast, and he was saying about what one of the lads was saying when he came into the team. They got off to a slow start in the season, just like, oh yeah, that always happens. Like it's just something that happens here. And record-breaking start, but also even before that, we were off to a good start. And it's my opinion that, there are teams that obviously buck the trend there, but I think if you get off to a good start, you're generally going to be one of the front runners in the season. So when we started doing that, and we were first for a bit, then Coventry came and overtook us, but we were still in the top two. I thought we've done enough at the start of the season here to put ourselves in the best position. It's a very, as all of this season was, it's a very un-Boro thing to do. Maybe this is the year.
Yeah, and Matt, you thought this could be the year. After a really good start, there was a press conference, and Rob Edwards is saying, I know nothing about it. I know nothing about Wolves. My daughter told me everything about it. He then leaves, very, very quickly, and Kim Hellberg comes in. An unknown quantity, I would probably say, because no one really on this podcast watches Swedish football. But a big contrast in styles as you go into it. Did you think that the team were going to adapt to the style of play?
I was really skeptical because I think the way we've built or tried to squad build over the years, I think, has been a big reason as to why we've been stuck in the position we've been in, going through rebuild after rebuild after rebuild, because we're bouncing between different managers and different styles every single time, and there's no real continuity there. I look at how Coventry have built their squad over the last couple of seasons, and Chris was telling me that basically to the start of not the season just gone, the start of the season before, I think Coventry had 15 of the same players that they had at the final day of this season, whereas Boro only had 5 of the same team who started back then. And I think the sheer turnover of players that we continue to have and the way we go from different styles, I think it just really hamstrings you when it comes to building a squad for promotion. And when Edwards came in, we had a Carrick squad that was built for him and his style of play. And then you then commit a summer to bringing in players to fit a Rob Edwards team, to play a certain Rob Edwards way. And I think a lot of the scepticism in pre-season from a lot of neutrals was that Boro's squad just didn't suit the way Rob Edwards' style of play. It just didn't fit. The profiles just weren't there. So then you bring in loads of players like Hansen and Strelets and Sen to fit Edwards' style of play. And then you go back to Kim Hellberg, which is a more possession-based style of play. So it felt like it was all a bit stodgy. It was all a bit all over the place, really. And I was completely accepting that Hellberg was probably going to need some time to bed in, maybe a couple of months to get his style of play across. He was new to the league. Obviously, he'd only ever managed in Sweden. It was a big jump for him. And he didn't have any of his own players. We had players that Some were a Carrick team, some were for Edwards. And I thought, well, we'll need January. He'll need to get his own players in January. And in the end, the opposite happened. He didn't get barely any of his own players in January. And he took this squad and just made it immensely better. And the work he did, instantly was just so impressive. The run we went on when Kim Hellberg came in, given the fact the players weren't his, and he just had to try and find a system for them, I thought was absolutely amazing. So I was very sceptical. I was expecting a very long bedding in period and more of the same that we've seen from Boro over the years, where we've gone from manager and style and, the lack of sort of continuity there. I was expecting it to not ruin our season, but we wouldn't be in the top 2 for much longer. We'd have to adapt. We'd have to try and then maybe find a good middle ground. But yeah, the work Kim Hellberg did in them early couple of weeks and them early games were absolutely amazing. And it just whet your appetite for what he could do when he has a squad full of players that are actually his.
I think he said as well that his second season's usually better. So that's quite exciting, isn't it? And Matt, what you said there, like Kim Hellberg deserves immense credit for that, because I think what gets lost in the discussion and the inquest, if you will, is that this isn't Kim Hellberg's squad. It's just a squad that he inherited. And the fact that he got them playing at such a level and kept up the pace that we were, the momentum that we were at. Although I do think that Rob Edwards leaving and Kim Hellberg coming in was actually a momentum shift, because I think we were on a downward trajectory under Rob Edwards. I remember that last game against Leicester. I just watched us struggle to do anything in that game until that Luke Ayling late equaliser. And that was a good moment in itself, don't get me wrong. But what preceded that was incredibly poor. He just didn't look like he had much of an idea about how to get the best out of the attacking options that he had at his disposal. And I think people will say about Kim Hellberg, what he took you from, what was it, like 2nd to 5th or whatever. And it's like, that is such lazy analysis, because it strips away all of the context. Like, he had a Rob Edwards squad, and even he was surprised at how well they took to his football, and he deserves immense credit for taking this squad and getting them playing at a good level. And ultimately, we ran out of steam, because I think we were always going to. It was a threadbare squad, and you're having players like Matt Targett, an injured Matt Targett, having to play left-sided centre-back because we had an injury crisis come the turn of the year. Alfie Jones got injured on Boxing Day, didn't see him again. And then you're having to rely on Bangura. You cannot rely on Bangura. He's incredibly injury-prone. You've got Alan Brown, who, to me, was just a good squad player, like in case of emergency type of option, and he's been a regular starter for us this season. You've got the likes of Gilbert and Silvera, who, in my opinion, just shouldn't be at the club. Like, they should have left, like, about 3-4 transfer windows ago. So yeah, we were kind of having to over rely on certain players that ultimately it's a bit of a falling domino effect, that you're having to over rely on one player, they're going to get a bit leggy. Having to rely on another player, they're going to get a bit leggy. So it was always going to fall apart at the end, I think. But massive credit to Kim Hellberg for coming in and immediately getting a win. That derby game was horrible. I'm not going to lie. I didn't enjoy it, but we won. We came from behind. And then after that was the whole game. And we're all, talking in our group chat like, what have we just seen? That was unbelievable. We wiped the floor with them. And then Charlton as well played some unbelievable stuff, got that win. Really good. QPR got that win, played some really good stuff. Dominant football with efficiency. And I think that's what we've been searching for towards the back end of the season. That dominance with efficiency as well, because we have dominated games, but we just haven't been efficient, but we were. And that was right when he came through the door. So yeah, massive credit to him. I rate Kim Hellberg highly because of that. I think it speaks to a lot of good coaching and good clarity of communication as well, that he took players that I don't think the likes of Brown, maybe even Targett, Gilbert, Silvera, potentially some other players as well, some other squad players, and he got them, playing usefully, I would say. So yeah, credit to him.
Yeah, I'll touch on squad quality in just a moment, but then he was alluding to around like Boro's dip and then the resurgence under Kim Hellberg. And he said Kim Edwards then. But just on the underlying numbers from that as well, if you watch Boro's season, you're absolutely right with with Rob Edwards, because with Rob, Boro's games were on knife edges. They felt like knife edge games. There were just one or two moments. Boro get on the right side of them. Had a really good start. And if you listen to us on audio, I'll walk you through this. And if you're watching us visually, I've pulled up Boro's expected goals versus expected goals against on a 6-game rolling, but also put Boro's points per game in there on a rolling average as well. And what happens throughout Boro's season is when Edwards, like I mentioned, knife edge football, Boro just getting the right end rub of the green and not giving too much away and getting some really good results. But as time goes on, the expected goals against number goes up, Boro's attacking numbers go down. And then when Kim Hellberg comes in, Middlesbrough see a really big shift in expected goals for, expected goals against pretty much maintains throughout the season. So you're still having the defensive solidity of the Rob Edwards side in quotations, and then you're getting the attacking output from Kim Hellberg's team and chances being created throughout the season, and Boro getting really, really good in terms of creating chances. And as that's getting higher and higher and higher, you tend to see a big shift because Boro do become quite streaky in terms of, they win 4 in a row, then they win 5, they go 4 without a win, then they win 5 on the spin, and they go 3 without a win, and then they win again, and then they go 7 without wins. So the points per game really does start to fall off. But Boro's underlying numbers are suggesting that things are actually relatively quite good, and there shouldn't be too much for cause for concern. So with that in mind, do you guys think that next season the future is still very bright under Kim Hellberg?
I think he's got the right approach. I think the data is showing that, and people will look at like what Hull have just done and just XG doesn't actually mean anything. It's an indicator. Obviously, you don't use it. Well, you can use it game by game, but it doesn't mean as much in that context as it does here. It's a good indicator of where we are as a team. We're a team that's clearly good at attacking and chance creation, and a team, although it did jump up a little bit at the end, but obviously it's nowhere near as big as the XG4 was. We're good at keeping out chances as well. So I think if we keep that up, we're in a good place. It's just about adding those extra bits of quality. For example, if we're creating a lot of chances, we need someone who's going to actually finish those chances. Potentially, if we're switching system next season and signing some actual wingers, which God, I'd love to see some proper wingers at the Borough again, because I'm sick. I'm sick of all this cutting inside type stuff.
Yeah, man.
I think you're going to be disappointed in the summer. We'll get on to it later.
So do I.
I think you're going to be disappointed in the summer.
Yeah, I probably will be, but I've been disappointed for the last few windows. Just
You've been disappointed all your life.
Well, yeah.
It's not about Tom's life.
other than the Steve McLaren years, but it's just not entertaining watching people cutting inside constantly. So I'd like to see us, sign some people who are actually going to take people on. We're going to probably need to rebuild centre midfield as well, and yeah, like I say, you got to be signing people who are going to put those chances away. If you're putting those chances away consistently, then and it's still above the expected goals against, then we're going to win a lot more games than not. Obviously, we still might need to do a little bit of work in defence, but I think the defence is in a good place. It's just making the most of the chances we're creating, and then once you do that, the points will follow.
You know what, right? People will look at Boro and say that we've bottled it multiple times this season, that we bottled second, we bottled the playoffs, and we bottled the playoff final. So from that, you would probably be forgiven for thinking that just a major overhaul is needed. I really don't agree. I think we're so close from an atomic boom under Kim Hellberg. The tactical framework is there. I don't think we've played badly in too many games under Kim Hellberg. I think mostly we've been dominant without registering the results that show that dominance. But the dominance itself within games and our playing performance is a platform in which to build from next season. And again, I will reiterate, wasn't Kim Hellberg's squad. So imagine what he can do with his squad. That's why I feel like it's a load of bollocks people saying that, you know, why do you rate Kim Hellberg so highly when he got you from 2nd to 5th? You know, he basically spearheaded you bottling promotion. I just think it's lazy analysis. Like, he has honestly come in, and the way that he gets his team playing is not only, bless you, Jonny, really good to watch, but I really do believe, and maybe this is naive of me because I've been here before. Like, I've been here before thinking Michael Carrick's Middlesbrough are going to get second in the year after we didn't get promoted via the playoffs. But under Kim Hellberg, I just feel as though the way that he plays football, there is that balance there, isn't there, between the defence and the solidity at the back and controlling midfield and good creative numbers. It's just in both boxes, I would say. The goalkeeper needs to be improved upon. I know we have tentative as a fan base to talk about Sol Bryn for some reason, but your eyes are there. They're not deceiving you. Like, he is a poor shot stopper, minus 6.6 for goals prevented this season. That's the 4th worst in the Championship. Decision making is poor. We've seen that, probably most notably the Coventry goal that was scored, and it was a bit of a mishap between Ayling and Britton. And then also his footwork, as you've mentioned, Jonny. Like, goalkeeper needs to be improved, and efficiency. It's not just the strikers; it's whoever the chances fall to. That margin for error is pretty low. You need to have good composure, and you need to be clinical. And unfortunately, I think that, you know, our squad quality has caught up with us, and some players are running on empty. Like you said, Jonny, Tommy Conway's going to get an injury soon. We've ran him into the ground, so I'm not surprised he got injured. But yeah, we're not too far away. It doesn't need to be overthought. It's just improve your playing personnel. The tactics don't really need to change. We don't need a plan B. We just need to better plan it. That's all I see it as, really. And that might be shit for this podcast because it's like a limited point and not too much of a discussion. But that's just kind of how I view it. I don't think we're too far away at all.
Yeah, we've been playing with a core squad of 12, 13 players, haven't we, since February? And you're asking them same 12 or 13 players to just go again and again and again and play this really intense style of football because we both didn't have the depth. Hellberg wasn't helped in any way, shape or form with the depth, really. The quality of the depth is shocking. We saw towards the end of the season, even when in the semi-final against Southampton, your core players, your starting 11 are absolutely dropping off. There was still a hesitance there to bring anyone off the bench. I genuinely don't think outside of a group of 13 players or so that Hellberg really rated or trusted any of the options that he had off the bench. He was just relying on the same 11 to go again and again and again. So I think if you can, obviously we're going to lose, a few of them players, but if you can build on that and give him a squad that can actually continue to, maintain that level of intensity and quality with the way Hellberg plays, I think we will be in a very good place. I think I've seen comparisons to Leeds and their first season under Marcelo Bielsa.
Yeah, same.
And I think there's probably a little bit of a parallel there that I think they dropped off in their first season in a similar way after having a really good start because it was just that intense. And then the second season when Bielsa was given a squad that was more catered to his style of play and I guess depth as well, because as you say, these players are going to break down if you're asking them to hammer this style of play every single week. You mentioned Tommy Conway going down with an injury. We lost Hayden Hackney as well. Whittaker was one of our very few goal threats. He went down. You take a few of them goal threats out of the team, a few of them crucial cogs, then the fall off is just huge. So if you give him what he needs, if you give him the squad, if you give him more than just a core group of players, you give him depth that can also come on and maintain that level, then I think, yeah, the future is incredibly bright and it's very exciting to hopefully see what he does with a squad, because it's not a team of 11 or 12 players with a bench that he barely rates. It's a squad game in the Championship, and I really hope we can give him a squad next season.
God, I wish Boro would listen to you there, Matt. Like, God, how many times have we had injury problems over the last few years? Wake up and smell the coffee. It's not a squad. It's not a team game. It's a squad game. You can't rely on 13, 14 players. You need to dig deep into your pockets. And the last 2 or 3 players on your bench also have to be good enough to come in and make an impact. We haven't had that. Look at the state of our bench at the playoff final. For God's sake. You're bringing on, obviously Hayden Hackney, brilliant. But not match fit. Sonchi Hansen, I'm convinced Kim Helberg still doesn't rate him. You remember that conversation he had in the press conference where he was asked by, I think it was Craig Johns, like, why isn't he getting minutes, basically? And Kim Helberg said, well, there's better players than him. I still don't think that Kim Helberg rates Sonchi Hansen. I think he's just had to play him because he's got no other choice. You know, I've got Cruiser Bay coming on. And by the way, brilliant for him. Like, young lad, 17 years old, he gets to say that he's played at Wembley, albeit obviously not a great game to play in. Ultimately we lost. But Jeremy Sarmiento's done nothing. Joel Wildsmith is a horrific keeper. George Edmondson is a horrific defender. Alex Gilbert shouldn't be here. Sammy Silvera shouldn't be here. Castledine is not fit. You know, he had heavy strapping on his leg. I don't think he's fit, but he would have been a good option to have, actually, the back end of the season. But like, that bench is terrible. Like, it really is. And the fact that, like, we've been playing with Britain as the right back because, again, a corner's being cut where it's like, oh yeah, we're not going to get a right back, or we haven't got a right back, but it's fine because Luke Ayling can play there if Britain gets injured. The fact that, like, midfield depth is bad. You take away Hayden Hackney, you play Alan Brown, Morris. Who else is there? Okay, Gilbert, not good enough. Like, McGree, take him out of the team. You've got an unfit Leo Castledine. Strelic gets injured, you're screwed. That's why we've had to play a false nine. When Whitaker gets injured, who's going to play? It's like, yeah, it's exasperating. The squad's terrible, and Boro need to realise that we are an injury-prone club. We are and have been curb-stomped by unavailability, be it suspensions, AFCON, bloody injuries, illness. Respond to it. You know, be proactive and recruit a squad, not a team, a squad. Because the team's fine, the squad is horrible.
Think back to Easter on Good Friday, by the way, just saying we had Aidan Morris and Riley McGree away on the opposite side of the planet, and we still had to bring them back and had to play them in both the Good Friday and Easter Monday fixtures because clearly we did not rate the options we had behind them. So we asked them both to come back after playing in friendlies within 72 hours of that game against Millwall. You're asking them to play Good Friday and Easter Monday because he does not rate the depth. That the options behind them starting first 11 players are just not good enough. And yeah, it was almost inevitable that was going to catch up with us in the end.
I probably will add to that, and I get your points for improvement of the bench. But if you look at Boro's wages to revenue ratio, we're over 100%. So we're already at, from a business standpoint, at over capacity for what we've got, right? Then you've got the quality there, which isn't probably as strong as where you need it to be. So you're going to have to get rid of a lot of people who probably are lesser earners than the bigger earners at the club. And then try and find a higher quality on a lesser wage, which is still a balancing act which Boro have to deal with. You know, you either have to increase your commercial revenue and your business output, or you have to find real diamonds with your recruitment. And it's a balancing act to get that. You know, obviously, yeah, I agree. We have 13 really good players for this division. And after that, you are like questioning the squad. But it is like probably a 3-year plan to try and get the right squad together. But yeah, I understand like how honking the bench could sound, but we're at capacity from a wage standpoint. And it's like, that is like, okay, well, how the hell do we fix this? And recruitment is going to be so big to getting that right. But I do agree with you though, guys. I think we do have a quality issue, I'd say, for value for money from a bench standpoint. Is it enough? That the 11 on the pitch probably is okay, but it can be improved. But you're going to have to try and find revenue or money, or really find costs and drive the outgoings down, because we probably sound overinflated from a wage standpoint. There's some underlying costs that are quite high. Boro obviously trying to combat that, and the whole balance, like the business aspect of it, can probably definitely be improved. Look, from working in sport, I know it's difficult to try and drive as much revenue as you possibly can, but that's why you have partners. You know, that's why you try and get as much out from them as you possibly can. There's different areas to earn revenue, and I think Middlesbrough should definitely keep digging into those. But on the pitch as well, and trying to get the right players, you're going to have to get rid of a few and try and bring people in, better players on a lesser salary, to hopefully get ourselves up there, which is a fine line. It's really difficult to get to, but I would say, yeah, it's a quality issue throughout. I think, the streakiness has proved it throughout the season. Middlesbrough going on good runs after international breaks are definitely a sign of, of fatigue and making sure that we try and, if we have better depth, it probably won't be happening as much. We have a slightly unbalanced squad as well, if you look at it from what Rob was wanting to achieve, and he was looking for wing backs. This team was built for wing backs. Look at it, you've Matt Target for me. I know he's not a wing back, but we brought him in as a fullback. We didn't have any wingers. So to Tom's point, we don't have any wingers, so your width's going to have to come from somewhere, and it is your fullbacks. Callum Britton on the right hand side. Yep, agree. Good right back for this division. Luke Ayling, probably the same thing, but we've seen last year that he probably couldn't play that position anymore, hence why he's more central. And you've only really got Bangura on that left-hand side that can get down the line and knock a ball in the box, because Matt Target, for whatever reason, when you watch Middlesbrough and build up, and it's definitely a development point for next year, you play the ball on the right-hand side, you break the press, and then you see Matt Target, and he stood behind Malanda. And you're like, if you were stood about 5 yards further forward, Middlesbrough would be out of that. And then it just takes the pressure off the likes of McGree and the way Hackney builds through. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that can probably be fixed, but we'll come on to that a little bit later on. But I want to just ask you 4 questions each around picks and the best moment, most disappointing moment of the season, best goal of the season, and signing of the season. And I think it's quite a nice way to round things off. And then we'll go to our pre-season predictions, which is always a fan favourite and shows how little we know about football. But Jonny, would you like to go first with these 4 questions? Best moment, most disappointing moment, best goal of the season, and signing of the season.
Yeah, so best moment of the season is undoubtedly that Birmingham game, having everything that preceded that, and Rob Edwards, not having a clue about the interest from Wolves and not actually shutting down the rumour. He kept the door slightly ajar, didn't he? And I remember I was talking to Gab Sutton for the opposition show, just normally, didn't think anything was going to happen, and then shit hit the fan, and he wasn't going to be in the press conference on the Thursday. And it really ignited Middlesbrough, didn't it? It really, really sent a rocket up everyone's arses at Middlesbrough Football Club, the fans especially. And just seeing Rob Edwards, you rat, the banner that was put up by Red Faction. There was a Stronger Together banner that was put up on the instruction of Rob Edwards at the top of the South Stand and the top of the North Stand. And for the top of the South Stand one, it said Stronger Together, or Stronger Without Rob, I think it said. It was unbelievable. And having Hackney and Fry, 2 Teessiders, score the goals that won us that game, it was an unbelievable, unique type of atmosphere for Boro, I think. A unique feeling, and really fitting, actually, that those 2 were the goal scorers. So that was my moment of the season. Most disappointing moment of the season isn't actually the playoff final. I'm actually going to go with the 2 games against Blackburn, because sold out, Boxing Day, sold out Riverside. We were at Blackburn, weren't we? Packed to the rafters away end for both games, 0-0. It's so typical of Boro playing Blackburn. 0-0, fine margin, low scoring game, and disappointing because you go there and there's a big crowd, big expectation, and Boro do not deliver, and it's not the first time Boro haven't delivered in front of a big crowd this season. So, yeah, maybe a bit of a niche one, but the 2 games against Blackburn just really disappointed me. Best goal of the season, I'm going to go with, there's 2, and they're both against West Brom. Cali Sen's against West Brom, that really well-worked goal, team effort, brilliant football, perfect finish, just kissed the crossbar and went at the post and went in. So either that or Bergzog's against West Brom, because the moment as well, the Della please, and then the football that preceded that as well, it was a really good piece of play, probably Hellball at its best. So we'll give it to Bergzog, because I don't want to, actually, nah, I'll just give them joint. I was going to say I don't want to give a goal that was scored under Rob Edwards credit, but Rob Edwards didn't score it, did he? So it's okay. And then signing of the season, actually, I'm going to go Kim Hellberg. Not a player, I'm going to go with the manager. I really do think that him coming in will probably be the best thing that Boro have done in many a year. I'm really excited to see what he can do with his squad next season.
Yeah, definitely was echoing that sentiment for Kim Hellberg. But Matt, I'll come to you next. What are your 4?
Best moment of the season's obviously the West Brom away. Absolute delirium. I think to be 2-0 up and then to be pegged back at 2-2, and it was a Friday night. We went first. I can't recall the exact context around the fight for second at that time, but yeah, being pegged back like that was really difficult. And you're thinking there's only one team who's going to win this. And then the way we constructed that goal in stoppage time was just fantastic. And the fact that it fell to Bergzorg and you're thinking, oh, God, he's going to take a touch. He's going to step over a ball roll. And he just absolutely powers it into the corner. And I lost my shit. So it was amazing for that. And yeah, met all the players after the game as well. It was just a great night and all, but that was the moment that sort of made that night. Disappointing moments. I think there's actually a few. I was going to say Connor Chaplin's crotch, but me and Jonny actually found that quite funny at the time. So I wouldn't say it was disappointing in the end, because when that shot went in off Connor Chaplin's balls, me and Jonny just turned and just started laughing at each other. So it's probably not disappointing in the end, was it? So I'd say the one that stands out is Bristol City's equaliser at the end, because again, I think had we won that game, we'd have been second, back on track, and it would have meant a lot to us. And you miss so many chances. The Strelets 1v1. Alan Brown has one from like 4 yards out that if he puts anywhere else, it's a goal. And then, they get one set play. And they were honking. They were in terrible form, by the way, at the time, Bristol City. They get one corner because George Edmondson decides to come on, and his only contribution to Boro all season is to try and head the ball backwards, concedes the corner.
And he scored an own goal against Charlton.
Oh, yeah. What a season he's had.
Two great contributions.
Oh, God. I forgot about that. Yeah, he did. And then, one of the smallest players on the pitch hits a bullet header in the back of the net. I just thought, that was the moment I think the season turned for me. Goal of the season, I would say Hackney's against Norwich, because it was just such a high-quality goal in such a high-quality game. Norwich were in such good form and still were afterwards. We were I think the only team to beat them in I don't know how long the run was. But to win that game via that goal from Hackney, I think was amazing. And I was going to, signing the season, stupidly, I was just thinking players. And I was going to say Malander, because I just think he's top draw. But I can't look past what Dana said about Kim Hellberg. I think you've got to look at him as a signing. And as I say, had we not brought him in, we'd probably still have Rob Edwards. We'd probably been 10th, scored the third lowest goals in the league, and it'd have been pretty rubbish. So the fact that we, down to all them circumstances, have stumbled upon him, we pinched him from Swansea at the last minute, could prove to be a sliding doors moment for us, hopefully in a couple of years' time.
Tom, do you want to jump in and do yours?
Yeah, I think best moment of the season, I'm going to go with Sheffield United away. I was quite kind of anxious leading up to that, because I think that was going to be a big test for us. They were obviously unbeaten at home since 1998 or whatever it was at the time. And we went there and absolutely played them off the park. Obviously got a little bit lucky in the end when they got one back, and then celebrated by having a man sent off a couple of minutes later. But no, I think that was the game. And I remember reading a lot of neutral forums after the game. Everyone was proper taking notice and thinking, God, we don't want to play these. And if only they knew at the time that we were on the verge of running out of energy. Most disappointing moment of the season, I am going to echo Matt's point that it was Bristol City's equaliser. They weren't good. That game, we should have had more goals than we did. And then to lose, it feels like a loss, but to lose that 3 points to the smallest man on the pitch with a bullet header was ridiculous, but it's a very Boro thing to do. Best goal of the season, I'm going Whittaker's free kick against Watford. I just thought outstanding free kick, and it's not a sight that I seem to remember. It's not a sight that I feel like we see a lot anymore. I feel like, and I mean, this might be, rose-tinted glasses about, me growing up as a Boro fan, but I seem to remember more free kick goals in the past than we get at the moment. I think the last one before Whittaker, was it
Sam Greenwood?
Greenwood a few years ago? And then growing up, there was, Jeremy pinging him in, Brockenbach, Hasselbank. That's all within about 3 years. So, yeah, I feel like no one shoots from free kicks anymore. So when Whittaker stepped up, hit that and hit a top corner, great, do that more often. But fantastic goal. And then, signing of the season, I'm not going to go with Hellberg. I'll stick to players, but I'm going to say Melander because I just think fantastic pickup for what we paid for him, and another MLS success story so far at Boro. Hopefully, we can get a couple more in the summer.
Max Afson inbound. But yeah, I think just to round things off, Tom, in terms of best goal of the season, I definitely echo the sentiment for Whittaker. I think it was an absolute wonderful free kick. It just took me by surprise. Even though me and Matt, every time we get a free kick or a corner, we'll see that's going in this. And it did. So it was quite a nice moment for us to see that. But in terms of disappointing moment of the season, I think the worst performance was Watford away when we got done 3-0. We were honking that day under Rob. And that was kind of oh God, this is pretty poor. But even the fact that what the defeat to Doncaster is even worse. But yeah, I would say Watford in isolation is probably the worst performance of the season. But in terms of moment, I would say Coventry away, the ball over the top, Bryn and Ayling just don't have a clue what they're doing. And yeah, they went and just burst our bubble, and that was that,
we
really.
got humbled that day, didn't we?
Yeah.
Shock.
But it was a game where if you win that, you go on a run, and fingers crossed that you go and do some amazing things. But yeah, unfortunately, it just wasn't the case. And then probably for us in terms of signing the season, yeah, I think Melander's great. I think he's really, really good. I'm very excited to see if we keep hold of him in the summer. Like where he goes next, I think he's just at another level. To be fair, I know there's flaws in his game. People will pick apart. His passing isn't always as great, and it's like he hasn't got 100% passing rate, or it's muscle off the ball sometimes. But I think his recovery pace, his positioning is really, really good. And I think for him to come into midfield, although it's not like maybe like the best thing to do tactically, but I think to have the confidence to say you can come into midfield and play through, I think is quite a good sign of a good sign in this division. And then I think Callum Britton's been a decent signing this year. And then for me, Kim, yeah, he's been a revelation. But then best moment, oh God, I think we've had an accumulation of really good moments throughout the year. I think from a pod standpoint, getting the text that Southampton have been kicked out was a pretty fun moment for us. Where we're like, oh my God, no way has that happened. But if it was on the pitch, I would say that Della moment, and seeing Matt just scream Della, please. I think that for me was really cool. Cool to see. I really enjoyed that, to be fair. But there's been some great moments throughout the year. Honestly, that whole game, fantastic. Charlton, brilliant. Absolutely battering Watford at home, and score QPR away from home as well. That was a phenomenal performance from us as well. So there's been a lot of good. I know we haven't had like a moment which I know you love to chat about, but actually we've had an accumulation of really good performances across that, and Kim's testament to that. But we're going to move on in just a moment, but we're going to take a little breather. And while we're taking a little breather, you can buy us some chips and curry. It helps fund the pod, and also, just make sure that we can keep contributing this for free as much as we possibly can. So if you like chips and curry and you want to give us a chips and curry, you can right now. The link is in the description below. But we're going to take a little breather, and then we're going to rewind to our fan favorite part of the show and our pre-season predictions. Buenos dias. Welcome back to the Boro Breakdown Podcast. And we are at our part of the show where we like to rewind and reflect on our pre-season predictions. They are always a laugh and always horrendous, so you will enjoy this one. And we're going to kick things off with Boro's league finish. We did do some stick and twists throughout. Tom, you said 4th and 6th. Matt, you said 7th. Dana said 7th. And I said 8th to 10th. But at the start of the season, we had different predictions in mind. And let's go and watch them.
I'm going like 9th or 10th at the moment, and I feel like that's being a bit optimistic.
I've gone 12th because, quite honestly, I was looking at a sort of window between 10th and 14th, and I thought, I think we'll probably be in there somewhere.
I've gone the exact same as Matt, the exact same kind of explanation as well.
Awkwardly, I'm not convinced. I think we're 15th.
Didn't rate Rob, did you, Jonny? Didn't rate Rob.
Look, I didn't really, it was one of those ones, Rob Edwards, where I remember like when it was him and Carrick, and I was like, I kind of want to see both. And at the time, I was like, yeah, I get to see it. Hopefully, I get to see Rob Edwards, which was the manager of Forest Green, and not as direct of what he is now. And we got that direct approach to Rob Edwards. And I remember watching you, speaking to you, Matt. I was also watching you at the same time. We were sat next to each other at Swansea at home, the first game of the season.
You were done.
I just looked at you. I went, this is, and quote, and that's part of my French here. If anyone's got a kid in the car or anything, but I said this is fucking horrific. And
that's why you disappeared from the pod for about a month afterwards. You just couldn't bear it.
You know what? I'm actually going to say that was the reason why I was on the show for like a good quarter of it this year. Just giving someone to speak about Rob. There was other reasons I wasn't avoiding Rob Edwards. But yeah, horrific prediction. But we move on and broaden out because the next one we've got is our league predictions. Who was going up and who was going down?
I think my top two are Ipswich and Southampton in that order. Then looking at playoffs, I've got the league table up here. I mean, Leicester, Sheffield United, Birmingham, probably Coventry. Who's getting relegated? So I'm going to go with the easy one first. Sheffield Wednesday, 24th. I've gone with the other two being Preston and Stoke.
Yeah, so top two, I've gone Ipswich and Southampton. Playoff 4, Sheffield United, Birmingham, Coventry, 100% they'll be in there. And I've gone Norwich. And then bottom 3, yeah, Sheffield Wednesday at the minute are probably going to go down with a low points record, to be honest. Hull. And I think I've got Preston.
I've gone Ipswich, Southampton, top 2. Then Sheffield United, Leicester, Coventry and Birmingham. And then relegated, Sheffield Wednesday, Hull, and then Oxford.
I put Southampton first for now just because of the squad that they have still. Ipswich, the same. I think they're going to be brilliant. But my top 6, I've went with Sheffield United, Leicester, standard, Norwich in 5th. And then for that 6th spot, I wrote down about 5 teams. So I'm just going to pick one and hope for the best at this point. And I'm going to go over raw choice in West Brom. I'm very similar with you guys on the relegation side of things. Sheffield Wednesday, Hull, and I went Oxford.
Karma has got us there with Hull, hasn't it? Of course they beat us in the playoff final after we literally all thought they'd go down.
I've been telling you all season, football gods. I didn't predict Hull at the start of the season. It was you that did this.
Oops.
Well,
some stinkers there, like.
Yeah, I had some stinkers. I mean, Leicester was a stinker because, they had a brutal season with points deductions and falling apart with that one. Technically, if you want to go on underlying numbers, Hull were second bottom, but they massively overperformed, which shows how efficient and also what a good good stop shopper. Great personal
Where do you think
shopper.
he shops?
Great personal shopper,
I reckon he shops at Sainsbury's. Pandora.
Great personal shopper is the goalkeeper. Great. But yeah, hey, they got promoted, and we all said Coventry in the top 6, which is fantastic. And Southampton had a poor start, but they nearly did it.
Same with Norwich.
Same with
Not far
Norwich.
from
Yeah,
Norwich.
I thought Norwich were going to have a really good year this year, and then they had a stinker of a start, and then went on a bit of a run, didn't they? Same with West Brom as well. West Brom had a fairly decent start, and then just fell apart completely, didn't they? So, yeah, there's some absolute stinkers in there. But I guess it was probably the best hit rate. Ipswich second.
Yeah,
Wednesday and
did.
Oxford.
Yeah.
I'll take it. But I'm not going to go about that. I'm going to skip quite quickly on because I think that it's definitely we'll go to our player of the season predictions. Who's going to be your young player of the year?
I'm going to go Lama Keb.
I'm going to go Abdullah Kante.
I'm going Kante as well, but I'm not calling him Alpha, not even if there was a fire.
I've gone Kante as well. I think Kante is going to be a really good signing for us, to be honest. For a player of the year, Denmal, who are you going to go for?
Tommy Conway.
Morgan Whittaker. I think he's going to have a good season.
I put Conway.
Well, I was going to go with Aidan Morris. Well,
Kante.
Well, Tom, I'll come to you, Tom, actually, because Morgan Whittaker, top goal scorer, he's had a good season.
Yeah, he had a good season. Yeah, I don't think he was player of the season form, but I don't think he was too far off.
Yeah, and I mean, Abdullah Kante, I feel like Kante a little bit, right? I want to say new manager, didn't rate him, and also he's playing very well for St. Etienne. So he could have been player of the season, just not a Boro.
Maybe next year.
And then I think Lama McCabe had one appearance.
Yeah, it was a bad one, that one, wasn't it? It's probably the worst one.
Yeah, absolute stinger. But I mean, I'm happy with my Aidan Morris show because I thought
yeah, that's a good one, to be fair. You did well that one.
I'll take it. I mean,
we all didn't think Hayden Hackney would still be here. I think that was. I think if we knew that he was going to stay, we would have put him as player of the year, right?
Yeah, it was
Apart
very,
from
very
Jonny.
close. I mean, but hey, look, I've been on the Aidan Morris gravy train for about 2 seasons now, so I'm happy about it. But let's round this section off because the next part of the show is going to go through the end of season poll results as well. We had over 1,000 people submit answers to it, and it's the biggest one. It's the best one. It's the bold predictions, and let's see what we said. The bold prediction of the season.
My bold prediction is that I win a bet builder this year where Darrell Lenihan is picked to score.
Didn't that already happen?
It's happened before, then he's had 2 years out. It's going to happen again now.
I said I'm going to give Liv credit for this one because I didn't think of this, but I absolutely agree with it. Dale Fry, double figures.
I've gone for that Rob Edwards doesn't last the season, and whoever succeeds him gets us promoted via the playoffs.
I've said Boro will be in the bottom 6 for goals scored this year. I mean,
I was so close.
That was very, very good prediction. That is top draw predicting. Mystic Malt.
Cut out the Steve Cooper bit there, by the way. I definitely didn't say that Steve Cooper would be the one that replaces Rob Edwards, but it was close.
Wasn't Ed Roberts?
Ed Roberts. Yeah, he did end up in Sweden though, and we got a Swede, so we can kind of put the pieces together there at some point.
Clutching straws there, but I'll take it, Jonny.
Yeah, I was trying to help, and then Tom. I mean, Darrell Lenihan just another year out.
Well, I think I did back him when he played in that game against Preston, but after that, it just seems like he's retired, and I retired from betting. I can't remember the last time I did a bet builder, so yeah, that all happened.
Yeah, and then Matt, double figures for what though? Appearances?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, starts, and he's absolutely smashed it. No, it was goals. He's landed on 3, and to be fair, I think in pre-season he got a few, and then I think he got like 2 goals in the first 3 games of the season or something. So yeah. Sadly, we lost our set piece specialist, didn't we, in the end of the season? Couldn't hit a barn door from a corner in the end.
Jonny, what did you say?
I said bottom 6 for goals scored. And
I mean, would have been right if Rob Edwards stayed.
Yeah, I think so. I was watching enough of Rob Edwards football to say, yeah, we're not scoring many goals this year. Look, we had a really good start, didn't we? But it was just like you could just see like the progression just slowly just going down and down and down. I was just like, oh, it's not going to be a good year. But like, hey, you left it a good time. Thanks, Rob. See you next year. If you're still in charge of Wolves. But yeah, some good predictions, guys. Some good predictions. But let's move on to the season poll, end of season poll, because over 1,000 people submitted to this year, which is fantastic. It's a record, I think, for us for having over 1,000 people contribute to it. And the first one up was Fans Player of the Season. So let's see where people picked. And well, there is only two players, who are pretty much at the top of it, and it's Hayden Hackney and Aidan Morris. Third place goes to Luke Ayling, and then Tommy Conway and Callum Britton are in there as well. Hayden Hackney, then, guys, with 41% of the votes. Aidan Morris had 40% of the votes as well. But this is kind of irrelevant to us because we have our own player of the season prediction. But I will ask you your thoughts on Hayden Hackney, Tom, because again, he's had a wonderful season, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's stepped up again this season. And I did think when he came on in the playoff final, even if he hadn't been playing for 2 months, I still think he showed why he's levels above the majority of our squad. It was obviously a bit of a sad one at the end, knowing that was probably going to be the last time we see him in a Boro shirt. But I would think that the majority of Boro fans, if not all, would just kind of look at that and just think, oh yeah, he goes with our best wishes because he's always give 100%. It was obviously his dream to get promoted with Boro, and a year left on his contract. It looks all but likely. I think everyone just wants him to get the best move possible. Personally, I'd love to see him reunite with Carrick at United if that was an option. But yeah, I think everyone would probably just look at that thing, best move possible for him and the club as well. But yeah, like I say, he's stepped up levels this season, and he more than deserves his move.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think he definitely does, and it's a bit of a shame to see him cry at Wembley, and he also cried at Southampton as well, which is, again, double the painful experience. But did we agree with Boro fans? Did we agree with Hayden Hackney being player of the season? Well, you're about to find out.
We didn't. It's Aidan Morris. Hackney was the player of the season last year, but yeah, we voted Aidan Morris for the Boro Breakdown player of the season. I think it was close, wasn't it? 3 of us said Morris, and Tom, you said Hackney.
Yeah,
you're on mute.
He's on mute.
I did mute myself there, but yeah, that's right. I voted for
Ventriloquist.
But yeah, look,
new career in the line for Tom.
Do you want to quickly just say something about Aidan Morris at all? I think for me, I think he's just been an incredible signing for us. 3 million, and I felt as this season went on, it just felt like this is his team. Like this is like a player who is like just starting to flourish in a Boro shirt even more, and you could see after every press conference that he had, even with the in-game build-ups, you could just see that he just so believes in what this project is, but then also like his development as well. And I think I would give him the armband next year personally, regardless of if Dale Fry's at the club or not. But Matt, is there any thoughts and feelings and emotions on Aidan Morris?
I just think he's a great player anyway, but the way he stepped up throughout Hayden Hackney's absence was particularly great, and he is starting to look like a class above. And I think we're maybe in a position similarly to where we were with Hayden Hackney 12 months ago. Maybe not quite as close because we expected Hayden Hackney to leave, but I think this is the season for Aidan Morris. And I think if we don't get promoted this season, we might then be in the same position where we're wishing him the very best, because I think if he keeps improving at the rate he is, I think by this time next year he's going to be a Premier League player if he's not already. And for me, you build the team around him, you build the midfield around him. I think he's absolutely excellent. He doesn't stop. He's got lung capacity unlike any footballer I've ever seen. He's great with the ball. He's fantastic out of possession as well. You know, even late on in the playoff final, he's tracking back. He's putting in challenges. He's retaining possession, winning the ball back. He is just a fantastic midfielder. But I think also we are starting to see them leadership qualities come through as well. And I would give him the armband as well. I agree. I think just build the team around him, have him as the centerpiece. For God's sake, Boro, don't sell him, because I think there probably will be interest, and I'm wary that he's probably played as well as he has at this level, and he didn't get in the USA squad for some reason. So if he has aspirations in the future, I hope he doesn't see his future away from here, and we can keep him, because if the club sells Hayden Hackney and Ian Morris in the same window, there will be riots. So keep him and build around him, please, because I think he is just going to be he's going to be like Hackney this season. I think he's going to be a level above next year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And yes, there will be riots in the street if we sell both of them. But it's not out of the realms of possibility with Middlesbrough. Anything can happen. But I did recruitment, and that is up next. The faith in recruitment. So we asked, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much faith do you have in Boro's recruitment team? And the key takeout really is fans broadly approve of Boro's recruitment work, but the results towards more of a cautious confidence than overwhelming trust, because the confidence in Middlesbrough's recruitment team is generally positive. Most common rating was 7 out of 10, which was 32% of the vote. Ratings of 6 to 8 accounted for 71.5% of all responses, and the average score was approximately 6.6 out of 10, so indicating more of a moderate confidence than the previous year. And only 5% of respondents gave 9 or 10, showing that very few fans have complete faith, where on the flip side, 8.6% rated 3 or below, meaning outright dissatisfaction is relatively limited. So cautious confidence. We spoke a little bit earlier on around Middlesbrough's recruitment and moving to different management styles. Did the squad quality enough? And also we spoke about the bench. But how do we feel about Boro's recruitment going forward? Dynamo, would you like to take this one?
Yeah, I would probably have myself between 6 and 7 for that. I mean, it's a surprise actually that it is quite positive coming off the back of January, and we haven't even touched on it yet. We'll touch on it in podcast questions, but I mean, between the summer and January as well, it's just we've managed to find ourselves in a position where the squad is quite clunky and awkwardly put together, and you've had like Alan Brown, for example, playing this unorthodox right-sided attacking role that would be better suited to an attacking midfielder or a winger, and that's just one of the square pegs in a round hole. I think Matt Targett is kind of a little bit of another one, where ideally in a Kim Helbig system, I think he'd want an athletic, forward-thinking, attack-minded wing-back really, but Matt Targett is not that type of profile. He's more of a full-back. So yeah, the way, and to be fair, there's sympathy there, because I don't think Kieran Scott, Chris Jones and Cole could have accounted or known ahead of time that Rob Edwards was going to leave after 14 games. But unfortunately, it has landed us in a position where throughout the season or the back end of it, we just ran players into the ground. We're trying to overcompensate for certain injuries and stuff like that. And it just that domino effect that I mentioned earlier on. So I'm surprised it's as positive as it is. It was actually worse last season when we did our end of season poll. There's a lot more votes for 1, 2, 3, less votes for 8, 9 and 10. So I'm a bit surprised at that. But yeah, we will see. I'll definitely place myself between 6 and 7 for it, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, where do you rank yourselves, Matt? On the scale of 1 to 10, where are you ranking yourself?
Well, I'll steer clear of the January conversation, because I feel like I'm saving that for the podcast questions. I have incredible faith that we can find gems, shine them up, and sell them on for a profit. I'd probably put that incredibly high. Squad building, I can't say I'm confident, but then again, as I said at the start of the podcast, I have sympathy with the club because Rob Edwards walked out on us when he did. Therefore, all the players we brought in for Rob Edwards were deemed not redundant, but you then shoehorning them into a system and a manager that's not, wasn't meant for them. So I have sympathy for them in that regard. But then January is January, and I just think, why go from Carrick to Edwards and then go from Edwards to Hellberg? Like it's stodgy. It doesn't make sense for me. That lack of continuity. You're just never going to build a squad if you bounce in between such different styles. I look back and I think you're going from, you go Monk to Pulis and Pulis to was it Woodgate, and then Woodgate to Warnock, and it's like and then while it's all over the place. That's why we are where we are. We need to be better at squad building. Coventry have shown exactly why that is so important for a non-parachute club. So I would probably say I'm in and around 7 as well. There's things I'm really confident in, and there's others I'm very skeptical of.
Yeah, Tom, would you echo that as well?
Yeah, I think Matt summed it up really well there when he said there's a lot of confidence in finding these uncut gems, or I forget the exact phrase, but yeah, these hidden gems and
untapped potential
and selling them on. I think it was hidden gems. I think we've shown in probably all the time under Carrick, the majority of the time that Kieran Scott's been at the club, that we can find those players. We can, we've built kind of good connections with other clubs. We can bring them in, sell them on for profit. It's reinvesting that profit and reinvesting it properly that I think we're having a bit of an issue with. Looking at last summer and the players we brought in and who's made a lot of appearances this year and who's kind of fallen out of favour, I anticipate there'll be still quite a bit of turnover. I think we've made a pretty decent start with who has been let go on the when we released a retain list the other day. It's just now, I think it's a big summer. But it's as Matt said, it's the squad building that needs focus, and yeah, it's going to be a big summer in trying to build that, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that, and I'm the same as you guys. I would say it's about 7, 8 out of 10. We've done a lot of really good work and find the right people, but yeah, squad building again, probably not as fault just as a recruitment team, but yeah, management changes have been a big play in that. And speaking of managers and George Michael, we said in terms of our next question was, do you have faith on a scale of 1 to 10 in Kim Hellberg? Because Kim did come in this season, an unknown quantity. And the key takeout here is that fans are overwhelmingly positive of Kim Hellberg, because 81% of respondents rated him 8, 9, or 10. The most common score was 10 out of 10, full marks for Kim, with 29% of that, and then followed by 9 out of 10, and then 8 out of 10 with 25%. The average rating is 8.3 because some people did put the ratings between 5 and 6. And on top of that as well, the negative ratings are pretty much non-existent as well. So I feel like people who aren't Middlesbrough fans probably contributed to this section, because only 1.4 said what between 1 and 3, and just 5% rated him 5 or below. So I think there's a lot of certainty there that people are very, very happy with Kim Hellberg. And guys, just based on our opinions on this show and what you were saying a little bit earlier, you guys are also very, very convinced of Kim Hellberg. But then, how bright is Boro's future under Kim Hellberg?
Yeah, really good, I think. Really bright. Sorry, I got knocked off by your voice crack there, Jonny. I can't.
I've had a stinker. Honestly, the more I read, the longer our podcast gets worse.
Oh, God. Anyway. Yeah, I think it's bright under Kim Hellberg. At least I'd like to hope that it will be. Again, like I said, I'm going to temper it slightly because I did get burnt by thinking the future was bright under Michael Carrick, and then we finished 10th in that season. Or 8th, sorry. So, and then 10th. So yeah, I think you've always got to temper it slightly, but I have liked what I've seen from Kim Hellberg's tactics. If he's backed, and this is a big if he's backed in the summer I think we'll have a good season. If he's not backed in the summer, we still have the opportunity to make something of the season because of the changes to the playoffs, and there's 2 additional spots there. I mean, that is ridiculous. It just rewards mediocrity. I don't know why they've done it like that, but anyway, could give us an opportunity. But hopefully we are mediocre next season. I don't think we will be under Kim Hellberg. I like what I've seen, and I like the prospect of what we could be under him next season with his squad if he's backed. So yeah, I'd probably be about 9 with Kim in terms of my faith in him.
Tom, do you have faith?
Yeah, I'm probably going to go with about 7. Generally positive. I like Kim Hellberg. Want to see him do really well. But I think, as Dan has just said there, we've been burned before in this situation. I had faith under Michael Carrick, and that didn't work out. And I don't think that was necessarily Carrick's fault. And I don't think he's the type of guy who was going to get to be United head coach if that was his fault and if he wasn't a good coach. So I don't think it's necessarily going to be on Kim Hellberg if he fails. I think, as Dan has just said there, it depends if he's backed or not. But I think my faith there is kind of more in the context of, are we going to perform well under him next season? So I'm going to say 7, but I think brilliant head coach and clearly a very, very clever guy who lives and breathes football. So I've got absolutely no reason to doubt him. He's already proven what he can do with quite a small squad. So let's hopefully see him get the squad that he needs next season and see what he can do with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then, Matt, just to round things off, where would you rank your faith in Kim Hellberg?
I was going to say 10. I'm all in. My only doubts come from elsewhere, like recruitment. Is he going to get the players? Is he going to get the squad? Everything I've seen from him and the team that he's built, and then the underlying numbers from what we've been doing, I've got no doubt. If he's given the players that fit his style of player, who can finish chances, then we'll be up there. But obviously, there is a little bit of that sort of Boro inbuilt pessimism. You know, why am I saying this? I should know what club I support. I should have learnt by now. But we'll be here in August. Probably think we're going to win the league. So yeah, I'll say 10.
Well, speaking of pessimism and optimism, we come to our final question, and it is around optimism for next season. So we did ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, how Tom Greenistic are you for next season? Because, there you go. Sorry, Tom. Mate, that's been a joke brewing for years.
I'm shocked that worked.
So am I. Absolutely horrendous. Anyway, we asked people around how Tom Greenistic are for next season, and the key takeout is, quite positive, I would say, Tom. So you are lucky you don't need to hide in your house for much longer, because I'm losing my train of thought. Optimism is high with 78% rating confidence between 7 and 10. The most common response was 8 out of 10 with 29% of the vote. So quite strong, I would say, a little bit measured. Pessimism, quite minimal. I'm surprised by this. Normally, you would tend to see 50% of the vote be 1. You'd be with the league, and you still tend to see it with Boro fans. But only 4.5% of the vote give scores between 1 to 4, averaging so in total 7.6 out of 10. And Tom, it's only right I come to you. How optimistic are you for next season?
I'll probably go with 7 again. Mainly because you can go into every season after a season like this one and be optimistic, but it never works out that way. We've been burned before by that, and it's pretty Fort's ugly world. But yeah, I think with the fact that I've been burned before on it, it's got to be 7. I wish I could go higher, but years of being a Boro fan have knocked that out of me.
Yeah, I'd go. Oh, excuse me.
There you go. There's a bit of karma.
This season's been one big humbling. I'd go for probably about between a 7 and an 8. I'm being a bit dicey on where I'm a bit like lost with these, I think. I'm not going for one in particular, but I'll go between 7 and 8. I think it much depends on the collective, really. Can we get the players in that Kim Helberg wants, that we utilise, that will get Boro playing really well throughout the whole of the season, not just, 3/4 of it or half of it? And can those players actually perform? Because it's one thing signing players that on paper you feel like are good enough, but it's about like acclimatising and fitting to the the newness of everything, which I think is something that's maybe burnt the likes of Sen, Strelic, Hansen, for example. So, yeah, maybe Kante as well. But I go, between a 7 and 8 for optimism. I think it's pulled up by Kim Helberg, I think. I probably lean towards 8.
Yeah, and I was the same as you, D. I was like stealing between 7 and 8, to be fair. So, I'll go. Yeah, I feel fairly optimistic. I think there's a lot of things to be positive about, around Middlesbrough, and I think there's a lot of togetherness as well this year, even with the heartache of Wembley as well. I think a lot of fans are really bought into what's next, and that's which I think you're only really a couple of good signings away to make it exciting. To feel everyone's like, yeah, you know what, this could be the year. But also, I know you were saying around like playoffs as well. With it being extended, I think Middlesbrough have to get playoffs every year now, or it is literally a failure. That you cannot miss out on top 8. I'm sorry. That's where I am. That's where I'm at. Sorry. And then Matt, just to round things off before we move on to podcast questions. How optimistic are you for next season?
Yeah, I'd say I'm probably 7.5. I'm in between 7 and 8. I think, as I say, I've got all faith in Kim Helberg, but I don't know if we'll get the absolute squad that he needs. I know Tom mentioned before about having 2 players in every position, which I think is absolutely the way to go, but I just can't see us ever being in that position. I think just due to the players we're probably going to need, we're going to still probably cut a few corners, maybe keep Solbrin because, give him the year, and there'll be a couple of positions where a bit like we're right back. Oh, well, we'll bring in a couple of versatile, I hate that word, versatile players. It feels like we bring in them sort of players every season who can play in different positions, fill in different positions. And I think that, again, will just hinder us slightly. So I'm not too sure we'll get the absolute squad we need. And plus, let's be honest, we've been in the top 2 for 200 days and somehow managed to become the only side to lose in the same playoff campaign twice. So there's that. Don't underestimate what Boro can do in a season, regardless of how good we have it. So I'll go 7.5.
I mean, sorry, let me call you Tom there. I'm actually cracking up. You can't have a point, Matt. So I'm just going to round you up to 8. Optimistic. But anyway, let's move on to podcast questions. Yes, podcast questions. Every week you get a chance to ask us a question. You can email us at theboroBreakdown@hotmail.com. You can tweet us at @theboro_breakdown. You can follow us on Instagram and DM us there, or on Facebook, or all the social medias. Ask us on TikTok. And also, we introduced something new for this show. We introduced SpeakPipe. So if you want to give us a voice note, you can, and it goes to our email. We will insert them into the show. And we've got quite a few responses for this one. And I just want to thank Ed, Luke, John, Rob, Kieran, Bob, Aaron, Jonny, Jasper, and someone who didn't put the name. It sounds like all the bloody disciples here. It's going on, isn't it? Right. We're going to kick things off with Jonny, and here's what he asked us.
I've seen a lot of chatter about Kieran Scott leaving the Boro this summer. For me, I think he's contributed significantly more to the club and our aspirations of promotion. We're signing players like Morris, Miranda, etc. If he does leave, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Oh, who would like to? Do you know what, Dan? I'm going to come to you first. What do you think?
You come to the person that tweeted earlier on this season that Kieran Scott's the best thing that's happened to Boro. I mean, I still kind of agree with that, but the people behind the scenes definitely have to take accountability for how horrible the recruitment was, really. And it's not so much the January transfer window. I acknowledge that Kieran Scott had emergency surgery towards the back end of the year. I do wonder, though, how much is done in prep, because it's not as if January the 1st comes around and it's like, oh, we've got to get going now. You know, it happens in advance, doesn't it? But it's not just the recruitment of player. It's, I go back to it, like appointing Rob Edwards in the first place is so weird to me. Like, I remember saying on our season review show last year about Michael Carrick, and I got a little bit of stick for this, basically saying that we need someone similar to Carrick, and I didn't mean by that, you know, a coach that has got his Middlesbrough side to play inefficient football, because that's basically what it became under Carrick at the end. What I meant is that, generally speaking, the style of play is somewhat similar, and so the players that you recruit is somewhat similar. I still think that we are close to success under Kieran Scott's kind of dictatorship, if you will. I don't think we're too far away, but God, we need to get it right. We need to get it right in the summer and in January, because one of the things that really irritates me is when we don't get all of the work done in the summer, which you have a lot of time to do, by the way, and then we're having to basically finish off our summer business in January because we've left ourselves a little bit short. And, you know, the right back example, we have Callum Britton and Callum Britton only. Oh, but Luke Ayling can fill in there. I agree with the whole 2 players per position thing. It's a squad game, not a team game. So I think that needs to be important, or placed importance upon. But I do want to see Kieran Scott stay. I do. I as I said, think that we are close to success under him. There's been more hits than misses in terms of player recruitment. I do not buy the narrative that it's the other way around. You think about Ryan McGree, Cameron Archer, Ryan Giles, Tommy Smith, Aaron Ramsey, Matt Clark, Darrell Lenihan, Lighty Lath, Rogers, Vandenberg, Conway, Morris, Ayling, Dork, Travers, Jones, Malander, Britton, Target, Brown. Like, the only players that I think have been misses are Aaron Connolly, who was shocking, Matthew Hoppy, who was shocking, Kelechi Iheanacho, who was shocking, sorry Johnny, Lucas Engel, probably like loanies like Luke Thomas and Rodrigo Muniz. Like, the misses are bad, don't get me wrong, but I think there's been more hits than you know, bad players that have been brought in. So I guess it depends if he goes. It depends on who replaces him, right? There's feasibly an opening where Boro let Kieran Scott go to West Ham and we bring someone else in who ends up being better. You never know. But I would keep him. I'd like to see him stay, and I'd like to see him, you know, help Boro towards promotion. But he definitely does need to take accountability, as they all do behind the scenes, for what was in the end a pretty poor campaign of recruitment, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree. I think with Kieran Scott, he doesn't just oversight recruitment. It's everything, complete football operations, and yeah, obviously there's going to be some good things that he's introduced, some bad things, but at least there's foundations there now. Whereas prior to that, we relied solely on a manager to build those foundations, have full control. But now there's a head of football in place. It should mean that there is continuity, and I think that's kind of the bit of a red flag with the Edwards to Hellberg. But look, it's turned out for the best. Hellberg's came in, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get it right next season. But yeah, I think if we got rid of him, welcome to Middlesbrough, George Friend. He will probably. Well, he's director of football now, isn't he? Where I can't remember where he's at. But he
was at Bristol Rovers, but I don't think he's not there anymore.
So yeah, sure to come back then. Anyway, let's move on. The next question, it's from Dave.
Let's have some optimism. Which current Boro player do the pod feel can have a breakout season next year?
Oh, good question, Dave. You know what, Matt? I want to come to you. Who's going to be the current player who will have a breakout season next year?
Yeah, I was looking through our squad, and there's not many players there that I thought are young coming through and could have what we would call a breakthrough season. The one that stood out to me was probably Leo Castledine, just because of the January business. I've not seen anything yet from Finn Munro to suggest that he is up to it, but you know, a good pre-season, a good start to the season, you never know. But I think we've seen little glimpses already from Leo Castledine that I think he is a very good player. His technique's really good. I think you can absolutely see from his time at Huddersfield as well, he knows where the back of the net is and has been hindered with injuries, and for some reason has been played as a false nine, which I just don't think suits him at all. So if we can find a place for him in this team and he gets regular game time and stays fit, I don't think he's already far away from being a pretty good player at this level. So I'm quite hopeful for Leo Castledine next season.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think Leo, in a very small data set, has been promising. I mean, yeah, we did put him as a false nine for one game. It did not work at all. But I think he's a good signer for £1 million. I mean, you can't fall off with that. And who knows? Maybe Jeremy Sarmiento might be dancing his way around the pitch and becoming a roaring success next season. Who knows? Who knows? But let's move on to the next question, and it's from Jesper, and let's see what he has to say.
Bara fan from Oslo, Norway here. Just wondering if you guys are looking as much forward to the David Strellich redemption season as much as I do, where he will most certainly surpass Chubakpom's 29 goals from some years back. We're in for a treat, guys. Looking forward for next season.
Firstly, I love that we have listeners all around the globe, by the way. I think it's absolutely mint. So thank you very much.
Norway.
Up the Norway, indeed. Thank you very much for that, Jesper. But who would like to take this one? I'm assuming you have all have feelings and emotions on this one. So Tom, actually, I'll come to you first and then let you all jump in.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a better first season than a lot of strikers that I've ever seen play for Boro. So he's built himself a little bit of a platform already. Yeah, I'd absolutely love to see him, be absolutely on fire next season and start banging the goals in. So yeah, maybe it's going to be dependent on other incomings and
Definitely.
tweaks to the system, but if we can do that and get the best out of Strelec, then absolutely would love to see that.
He's an interesting footballer, isn't he? Because Rob Edwards played him as a 10. Kim Helberg came in and said he's a 9. I mean, I have my own personal opinion in that he's basically a 9.5. He's between both of those roles. And I think that type of unique profile, you have to build the team around that particular player. And I just don't think Boro will build their team around David Strelec. Even though they should, we paid, $6 million for him. I don't know if that's an upfront payment or whether it'll get to 6.5 million. His success largely depends on the players around him, I think. And if Boro can get runners either side of, or maybe just one side of David Strelec, and maybe that could be the central attacking midfielder as well, by the way, then it might be better for him. But he's a confusing one. He hangs on the periphery of games and he ghosts sometimes and you forget that he's there, but there'll be big moments for him and it's just about whether he can take those big moments. And unfortunately, I think he's a talented footballer, but those moments he needs to be taking more than he has this season. But yeah, Jesper's nailed a bold prediction already with that, hasn't he? I love both of your faces, Jonny and Matt, when he said that. It was just oof. A good bold prediction there already. I hope he's right, by the way.
We're going to keep that voice note and we'll play it on our next season review show. Maybe put in our bold predictions as well so we can come back to it as well. But yeah, what a great prediction for next season. Yeah, there is quality there with David Strelec, but I agree with you, Dana. You need to build a team around him to get the best out of him. Unfortunately, I don't think that'll be the case. But let's move on. Next up, and it's Kieran, and let's see what Kieran has to say.
Tom, Jonny, Dana, just want to get your thoughts on recruitment for next year after an absolutely crazy season. I think we're okay for centre halves if we sign Fry on a new deal. Probably can need cover for right back. I think we need a more pacey left back than Target, who will be demanding quite decent wages. Obviously, replacement for Hackney, and I do think that we'll need more pace out wide. Oh, and obviously a striker as well. I think Helberg might go with more pacey wingers, as he traditionally has done. And I think Conway is good enough on the left. I just think we need something quite dynamic on the right. And we've got too many similar players, in my opinion, with players such as Hansen and Sarmiento and Castledine, who can't really go past the player and kind of all kind of come into those pockets. Interesting to hear your thoughts, guys.
Thank you very much, Kieran. And since there's only 3 of us and Matt's not around, we'll... I'm joking, Matt. You are our 4th official. Very much part of the podcast. So ignore that. But I will come to your point in just a minute, Matt. But I'll come to you first, D. Just with recruitment, what do you think Boro should do in the summer?
Well, this is where I talk about Boro fans being disappointed at a lack of wingers, I think, because Kim Hellberg's ideology centres around the centre. It was the case at Varnamore, and it was the case at Hammarby. It's no surprise it's followed him to Middlesbrough. I think it's just how he wants his teams to play. He wants them to control the middle. He wants them to attack centrally. You know, there was a clip posted from a training session in February on the Boro channels where he's telling Boro players not to just play around, but to focus on central combinations and being brave. I would assume this is why we see similar forward players. When it works, it's brilliant, and we play some really good stuff, and we can tear teams apart. When it doesn't, you do get conversations around needing a plan B. But for me, I don't think Boro need a plan B. I think they just need to improve plan A. As I said earlier, tactically we're good. The framework is there. The platform is there on which to build upon. But he's just been utilising someone else's squad. In my opinion, in the summer, we need a goal-scoring central midfielder. Could this be Castledine? That's kind of what I'm questioning, because I think he got double figures for Huddersfield, didn't he, in half a season? He's more of a goal-scoring threat than McGree is. McGree got 6 this campaign, I believe, but he still has that Tavism in his game where I think his composure just goes out the window, and he also doesn't have a right foot, so I don't really expect McGree to get many goals, to be honest. I think to bring in Majed from Hammarby, somebody that's still there, that Kim Hellberg knows, right winger but left-footed, which is why, you know, Tom will probably get annoyed at the cutting inside, but he's someone that's a proficient dribbler, really good 1v1 threat, posted incredible numbers in terms of, you know, 1v1 battles won and dribbles won, but is also a goal threat as well. So I would see if we can test their resolve for him. A more athletic left back, I do agree with Kieran, more athletic than Target, basically a wing back profile. A ball carrier somewhere in the team to replace Hayden Hackney. Doesn't necessarily have to be a central midfielder. I think Georgi Chakvetadze from Watford is available. I think he wants to leave. Could we potentially get him? The last player that was posting similar ball carrying numbers to Hayden Hackney's this season was actually Georgi Chakvetadze last season. His stock is lowering. I think a lot of Watford fans are not rating his performance this season, but he's somebody that I think, you know, if you bring in, I think Hellberg can work really well with him. I don't know if that's maybe a bit too ambitious. I'm not sure. And then a striker. I have no clue on what profile. He had Arabi at Hammarby in his first season. If you look at Arabi, big, bulky, bustly striker, powerful, muscly, muscular. And then he had someone called Abraham, who's the complete polar opposite, scrawny, repurposed winger, I believe. So I don't know what profile he'll want. What I'll probably expect is that the goal scorers in the side are not going to be the number 9s. They're going to be more the wingers or the central midfielder. So maybe somebody who's, you know, a link-up player that can drop deep and receive the ball and then, you know, shift it to the wide players potentially, more so than like a fox in the box type. Certainly don't think we're going to have a Kiefer Moore type profile up front, but we'll see. That's what I think we need in the summer.
I know it's not likely we're going to get some wingers. What you just said there, Dana, about the guy from Hammarby who was proficient at 1v1 dribbling, that's great. If we can get someone, maybe a couple of people like that, who where they can cut inside, they can actually take someone on and beat them 1v1, fantastic. You know, Sarmiento was supposed to be that sort of profile coming in, but I don't think he'd had a lot of play time in the first half of the season. Seemed to be low on confidence and never really regained it with us. Maybe after a pre-season we might be seeing a different player with him. I hope to God we are. I think in terms of like adding more pace to the team, Bangura has showed when he's played how vital that is on the left-hand side for me. Because you look at the whole game just before Christmas where he was playing, I think he at least got 1 assist. It might have been 2. But he was having a great game that night. And it was a really nice balance to Callum Britton on the right-hand side. We don't get the same thing when Matt Targett's playing. Jonny, you mentioned it earlier, where you do all the work on the right-hand side, you look over at the left and he stood behind Malander. That was something I thought Hull were doing really well in at Wembley when they had Giles doing that and they took him off for you and then you was doing it. So I think... Shut up, Jonny.
God's sake.
No. So I think that shows the importance of having that genuine width and pace on the left-hand side. And if it's not going to come from a winger, it needs to come from the fullback. So a more athletic left back. I think, as Widane has just said there, I don't know what profile of striker we'll go with. I'm not convinced it's even going to be like the same sort of formation that he's been playing this season. I think there'll be a few new players to get the team built the way Kim Hellberg wants it to look. I've heard that really it's not his strikers that score goals. So I don't know what that striking option is going to look like. We need to do a little bit of work in centre midfield. And I'm not kind of getting involved with the whole drama / pile on Solbrun here. But we need genuine competition in goal. If not, just a different option as number one. Reason being, obviously, Wildsmith's gone back on loan. McLaughlin has not been retained for the next season. Senny Dieng's probably never going to play for us again. So that leaves Solbrun. So who's competing with him next season? I think it's probably two keepers you need to bring in. You bring in like genuine competition and maybe an older head who can step in when needed, or alternatively just help with the warm-ups at the Riverside and assist the coaches there. But I think that's an area there that we need to be looking at in pre-season and bringing in some different options.
Yeah, and I'll come to you as well, Matt. Don't worry, you have an opinion in this. Don't worry. But I think for me, what I would say is I think Middlesbrough will probably have a really strong pressing front three next year. I think with the issue with Boro right now is obviously you only have one player who can really press well, and that's Tommy Conway. And Middlesbrough's pressing out of possession numbers are all around like suffocating teams. And I think from a profile standpoint, I think it would be an athletic forward who can press really high, but also I'd be looking for another winger as well, because the issue with, I don't want to say it's an issue, but I think with Whittaker, his first instinct is to come inwards and play really central, which is again probably an instruction, but also it does leave your fullback exposed. And I don't think Whittaker has that discipline to press for 60, 70 minutes. I don't think he's good enough off the ball. And I think Boro will.
Well, did you see what Jukurovic said about Whittaker? Basically, he said that Whittaker is never where he's supposed to be or something. I know I put it in the group chat, but it was basically like they tried to target Whittaker's lack of discipline, basically in positioning in that game. So there's that. I probably can't find it here, but it was definitely mentioned by him. Give me 2 seconds, I'll find it.
Well, anyway, so I think a pressing front line is really key. I think really athletic fullbacks is also key to that system as well. And I think if you start to build a team around athleticism, I think that will hopefully help with the out of possession work that Kim really wants. And also on the goalkeeping situation, I'd probably agree with the. This year, Sol was in a position where Boro probably didn't expect to be where they landed. We've given him a year. He's had really good 2 seasons on loan. It's just like, can he solve his issues for next season? What is the issues? It's just his footwork. If he really enhances that, his shot stopping will probably improve because of the back of it. But I do think, I agree with you, Tom, that you need a second choice or make Sol a second choice and let them compete for that position. Because right now, I don't think it's as strong as what it is or what it could be. And they, did you find the voice note? Or the voice note message?
Yeah,
There's
it was.
voice notes.
No, it was in the Gazette. So Jukurovic said, even I was not so satisfied with how we played this first half. This is a playoff final, obviously, especially on the ball, because you have to be brave with the ball, especially on the left side, the right side of Middlesbrough. Whittaker is always somewhere in the middle and he doesn't hold his position. So there are 2v1 situations. So that basically is a manager there speaking about Whittaker's lack of discipline in holding his area down, really.
Get me in that dugout. Anyway, right. Let's move on. Final 2 questions, and this one is from Bob.
My question's more about the previous January window we had when we were under Hellberg. his first 4 games were wins, so you could see in that he's a good enough manager to back. And then we had 4 games without scoring, so you can clearly see that there's an issue that needed to be fulfilled, which was signing a goal scorer. Obviously, we did go for Adam Armstrong. Obviously, he chose Wolves over us. But do you think we gave Hellberg enough backing in January? Personally, I believe that if we back Hellberg in this summer, we'll no doubt be fighting for top 2 again. If not, we might just squeeze in the playoffs again with these 2 places opening up, 7th and 8th for playoffs. I think we might just get playoffs if we don't back him. We have a similar type of squad, but no doubt we need to back him. So I just want to get your thoughts on that. Thank you.
Matt, I'll come to you on this one, given that we did move on very, very quickly for this one. But yeah, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought January was an absolute disaster, if I'm honest. I think we had a terrible window to which we not only, standing still, given the position we were in, I think would have been bad enough, but I think we made our squad worse, quite honestly. I think the flaws were obvious going in to January, where Boro needed to improve. We've already spoke about the fact that we relied on a 12, 13-man squad throughout the second half of the season. We've already spoke to death about how bad Boro's squad depth was, the players that Kim Hellberg clearly didn't rate, and how tough of an ask it would have been for us to rely on the same 12 or 13 players, to which we absolutely were doing for the second half of the season. We let Delano Bergzorg go, which on paper, had you told me this before January, I wouldn't have batted an eyelid, because I would have assumed we would have upgraded in that position. And this isn't a judgment on Bergzorg as an individual. I'm not saying he would have been the difference between promotion or not. It's more a judgment on the squad. And I guess how low the bar was in regards to our squad depth. But letting him go, I think in the end was a huge mistake, because he was one of the very few players that I think Kim Hellberg legitimately relied on and did trust. He was often one of his first substitutes off the bench. He played across the front line. I think would have absolutely been a benefit to our squad in the playoffs. To someone who can hold the ball up, can carry the ball, win us fouls. Letting him go and replace him with Jeremy Sarmiento, I think, was a downgrade in the end. Jeremy Sarmiento, I don't think, had started a game for 10 months before he came to Middlesbrough. So again, a bit like with the Iheanacho the year before, you're bringing in a player in January, you want them to hit the ground running. They've barely played. And I think he offered next to nothing when he came in. And as much as I think Leo Castledine is a good signing for the future, I think we'd have brought him and Finlay Munro in regardless. So paired with, the signings you've got to make as a football club that we are, young players, of course, I accept that they're signings we have to make. Sarmiento was a nothing signing who was not up to it and hadn't played much football. Wildsmith, again, a nothing signing. We made our squad worse in January, which I think, given the position we were in, was criminal. And when comparing our January to the rest of the top 6, we had by far the worst. I looked at Coventry's. They were already top of the league. They already had the highest goal scoring record in the league. They refined that. They bolstered that. They got 5 goal contributions from their January signings. Ipswich, top squad, already starting at a much higher bar than us. They got 3 goal contributions from their squad. They brought in Dan Neil, a player who had got promotion the year before. They brought in Mehmeti, who was already a top player at this level. Southampton got 15 goal contributions from their January signings. If you look at Larin, Peretz, they improved their 11, 7 clean sheets from him. Even Millwall only got the 1 goal contribution from Barry Bannon, but brought in a goalkeeper to improve their 11, who got 6 clean sheets. And then Hull City, a team who didn't have any money, still had a great January and got 8 goal contributions from their January window. Boro had 1. And that was Leo Castledine's goal against Bristol City. So our January contributed to 1 goal contribution across the second half of the season. Delano Bergzorg, by the way, at Bristol City, got 2 in his time at Ashton Gate, a far worse team who were falling off a cliff under Struber. Bergzorg got twice as many goal contributions as our entire January signings did between February and the end of the season. So, yeah, long story short, considering the position we were in, to make your squad worse was a disaster. Also, as well, we left ourselves with 2 open positions in the squad in case of an injury crisis, which I think is nonsensical. For me, you fill them 2 squad spaces up with players so you're ready for any injury crisis, rather than leave them 2 spots open for an injury crisis that happened in the end, and we didn't fill them anyway. So I think for the position we were in, the business we did, and leaving 2 free squad spaces open was just incredibly careless, and I think it definitely cost us a huge chance at automatic promotion. And as we saw towards the end of the season, just with how on our arse our squad was, I think it definitely contributed and was probably the main factor as to why we were in the position we're in.
I wish
Yeah,
you
it was
wouldn't
bad.
sit on the fence as much, Matt.
I'll get the splinters out of my ass, Tom.
Splinters.
Sorry.
Oh, it was bad, wasn't it? Like, we did a January review show. Matt, you weren't on it, but we all said that the window was okay. I think our reason for that was that we kept Hayden Hackney, which was undoubtedly a good thing, and that there wasn't too much disruption. But you think about it, the only signing that made sense and was good, and unfortunately it just, he got injured a lot, was Castledine. We needed, I know everyone talks about a striker, we needed a centre forward, we needed a number 9, and I do agree with that, but I think we also needed to basically add more quality in the depth for wingers as well and centre attacking midfielders. We did that with Castledine, it's just unfortunate they got injured. Monroe was a pointless signing for the here and now. We saw him against Swansea, we saw him a little bit against Coventry, came in with a lot of plaudits and lauded by Ian Holloway as the best fullback that he's seen in his managerial career, but not a signing for the here and now. Wild Smith is not a good goalkeeper, and to be honest, I'm glad we didn't see him anyway, but if Solbryn, something came up where he had to be dropped, you're bringing in a substandard second fiddle goalkeeper, sound. The Sarmiento signing is just... Do you want to know the average minutes played by Sarmiento in the loan spell that he had before joining Middlesbrough?
Do I want to know?
He didn't start for them, I know that.
It was 11 minutes. Across 7 games, an average minutes of 11 minutes played for Cremonese. And you're expecting him to come in the thick of a promotion battle midway through the season when it's high pressure stuff and expect him to just, right, straight into it, Jeremy. That's no slant on Sarmiento. It wasn't his fault he didn't get picked for Cremonese, but it's Boro's fault that they brought him in and I guess expected him to just hit the ground running. Like, there's no time for bedded in January. You need to have players that are ready to go and get you over the line. And there was this idea of Jeremy Sarmiento's a promotion merchant because of what he did for Ipswich, and he's still a cult hero at Ipswich, but he's never going to hit the ground running when he's had an average minutes played for Cremonese of 11. 11 average minutes played. It's crazy. So it's that signing for me is on the same path as the Kelechi Iheanacho one from last January, where it was obvious at the time they weren't going to do what Boro wanted them to do, which is make that instant impact. Now, the thing with Sarmiento is that he's on a permanent now, and he can redeem that. He can redeem the situation, and he won't just go back to, his parent club and never be seen again like Iheanacho. So there's still good within it, we hope, but that's just not, it's not it, is it really, in terms of January signings? And then you leave yourself threadbare in key positions, and then what happened in the end was Boro ran out of steam, and yeah, we shouldn't be surprised at it. What I said about, because I can only speak for myself here, about the window being okay, I was wrong with that. It was a really poor window, and I hope that we don't see another one like that, like last January as well, because didn't help, did it? It hindered.
I just want to add as well, if we go into next January and we have a window where we're signing 2 or 3 players, great. But I hope that's coming off the back of doing all of our required business in the summer. I hope we get to the point in January where realistically we don't need to add too much to the team. If we get to January and there's glaring gaps in the squads and we need to finish our business from the summer, then it's just the same as the seasons prior. But if you've already got a good group of players and a good squad that only maybe needs a couple of names adding to it, ideal, but not in the same way that this January was 3 signings and unfortunately didn't add much to the second half of the season.
Okay then, well, let's round things off to the last question of the day. And it's from Aaron.
Hi guys, Aaron here. Just wanted to say thanks for all of the content this season. It's been great to have you in our ears. My question is, what is your realistic expectations for next season? Obviously, this season we seem to have slipped up at the end of the year. We missed out in the playoffs and then obviously heartbreak at Wembley. But at the same time, in a more positive note, we've seen Middlesbrough play some of the best football we've seen in years, and our ceiling seems to be as high as any team in the Championship. If we can go again and get some money from Hackney, I'm sure we'll be there or thereabouts. But at the risk of getting hurt again, I just wanted to see what your expectations are for next season. Again, thanks so much for the work you guys do, and up the Borough.
Appreciate that, Aaron. Thank you very much for listening to us as well. And expectations. I want to just do one word for this one because we have been going for over 2 hours, which is probably the longest podcast I think we'll ever do in my podcasting career. So, Matt, I'll come to you first. What is your one word realistic expectation for next season?
It's not quite one word, but I'll say top 4.
Top 4 for Matt. Dan, I'll come to you next.
Playoffs. Upper end playoffs.
Upper end playoffs. Okay. Tom?
I'm going to borrow man from Rob Edwards and say progress. Progress on losing in the playoff final. You can interpret that whatever way you want, but progress.
Yeah, and then I think for me, I would probably say playoffs. It's the minimum now. So, especially with those extended playoff numbers, I feel like if you're any lower than that, that is a failure for where we want to be as a club. So, and I can say more than one word because I'm the host, so I can do what I want. Anyway, right, that's it, guys. Thank you very much for joining me, as always. To the listeners and the viewers, thank you very much for listening to us, watching us, and subscribing to us all of this season. It's been a roller coaster of a year, and I'm absolutely exhausted. So we're going to take a couple of weeks break. I mean, you watch some breaking news will happen, and we'll have to be back on next week. But for right now, thank you very much. Don't forget to keep subscribing. Don't forget to like, share, get us found, and all that kind of fun stuff. But also, if you would like to buy us a chips and curry, please do. The link is in the description below. That helps fund the podcast in terms of getting access to Y-Scout, StreamYard, all that kind of fun stuff. But for right now, this has been the Boro Breakdown Podcast, and that was our Boro Matchday Chatter in a pod. Up the Boro.